Druid Hills. Does she
Justin?
preach ever? Does
Every
she?
day.
Oh,
Preach.
Every
Right next to
Sunday.
his
She
place?
does.
how old is she?
How old is she? 46.
What, baby?
She's 46.
I gotta hear her. Well, we need to go.
Yeah,
Is she the head? She's
including
the
my
head?
old van.
That's a pretty big deal.
Those are
I
the
think
ones
it's
they
about
Where'd she
deactivated
go to
insurance on
undergraduate?
to save money.
Pardon?
Where'd she go to school?
She went to Converse.
She went to Converse.
No, I think they,
What's,
kind of refurbed them and
Tracy
Okay,
was out
so
there.
right there.
distributed them to drivers.
Well, I tell you,
she
he got
worked
an
for a church
opportunity
up in
not
Green Creek.
Yeah, they stopped, they halted liability insurance on it, so it couldn't be driven.
of a semi-professional team in Atlanta.
She was here for a while. She came
Yeah, I
back and
remember.
They want him
then
to play on that
she went to
summer
Clemson.
league.
Does she and Alan Jenkins work
He'll be
together?
playing with
Was it
25 to
he and the
35-year-old men.
Presbyterian?
Man,
He went to
We're
McCall.
live, I think.
boy, that accomplished that much. You gotta be proud.
I'm super proud.
We're gonna call our meeting to order. If you have cell phone, we'd ask that you please turn them off at this time. I'd like to welcome you this evening. We're gonna stand and we're gonna have pledge of allegiance by Mayor Pro Tem Blanton and prayer by Council Member Latham. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you'd like to pray with us, please stand. Our Heavenly Father, we pray for your presence with us today. We pray that you open our ears to our constituents. We pray that you will bless the transactions that we do today. We hope that you will show us wisdom as we act to serve our constituents. We pray, Lord, that the things that we do will glorify your name. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Record show all our council members are present. So give Councilmember Reed a chance to come in and get seated.
Good evening. Thank you.
Sure. Next order of business, approval of minutes of our previous meetings. Our call meeting of April the 3rd, 2020. Our call meeting of April 27th, 2020. Our call meeting of May 1st, 2020, and our regular meeting of May 11th, 2020. If we could get a motion to approve those minutes in that order, please.
Mr. Mayor, before we do, I had one question on the meeting of May 11th.
Uh-huh.
Does anyone feel it's important to have anything in the minutes regarding our technical difficulties as far as the public meeting went? Or am I out there alone?
No, I mean, I think that, I know that, we didn't have a whole lot of public comment on that certain zoning. What was it, a text amendment, or was it
It wasn't, I
It
don't
was a
think.
map, it was a map amendment.
a map amendment? Would it be, I mean, I guess at no point was there really a true public hearing, is that correct, since, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I understand your concern, and but is it silly to revisit that as a vote? If has it already, whatever we did, does it?
I just, just as I was reading the minutes, it just kind of bothered me that it talks about the public meeting and because of the technical difficulties. I'm not sure, I'm not suggesting we need to revisit that whole issue, but I just was left uncomfortable that the minutes didn't somehow reflect that there were issues preventing people from being involved in the public meeting. But I will certainly go along with whatever the council thinks on that.
We
But
can't
what
really
they-
take that vote back, can we? I mean, or
Well,
is it,
were they able to call in by phone?
no.
They were they, did you get any complaints, Eric,
No,
Councilmember Joyce?
there were no public comments before that night that I'm aware of, and no one has complained since.
Yeah, so,
So I'm not sure,
and I think at the end of the meeting, we did state that there were technical problems that was out of our
Yeah.
control. But I do, now, we are gonna put this back on the agenda for next month, is that right, Eric?
well, the one that we went ahead on was the one for Wellbridge.
There was two-
So
there was-
that's a
yeah.
done deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't see a big issue with it. And our councilman have an issue with that?
I mean, I guess, I totally understand his concern, but I think it's completely unique and unusual.
Yeah, it's just,
And I know staff did everything they could to try for that not to happen, and it just happened. It's not, hopefully it's not our new normal, and
Well,
it is, I think that we've worked some of the kinks out. But
it
if,
happens to us
but if
in
we
our
needed
home,
to,
you know,
yeah,
so, I mean,
but if we
it's
needed to
just-
redo the vote, I mean, I was willing to do it, and
I know.
with the opportunity for proper public comment.
I
And so-
don't think Councilmember Joyce is asking
No.
anything
Yeah.
about the
No.
vote,
I
but
don't
whether or
think
not
the
to
vote.
add to the minutes that there were
had to-
difficulties and
right.
acknowledge
Yeah.
that
Okay.
folks weren't able to.
That's-
And,
yeah.
and I think you can do that in a motion, and that could
But-
be.
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I don't see a reason to do it. Didn't we postpone that till?
No, this was a
No, there were,
different
Different one,
there
I'm
were
vote.
sorry.
two of them
Yeah.
that night. The
Okay.
Wellbridge one went ahead, and
Okay.
So we couldn't get phone calls that night either? We didn't? Ashley?
Well,
But-
if
but
we
re-
give out cell phone number, David's cell phone number, I think we maybe did that later after.
We did, I thought so.
But we had already closed the public hearing at
but I
that.
think Rick has summarized my position right on the nail. I'm not suggesting that we vote or anything like that. I'm just, when I read the minutes, I just felt uncomfortable that there was no mention of the fact that the public meeting, which was referenced in the minutes, really wasn't as public as it should be. And I'm not throwing blame out, I'm not sure.
David.
who's
I'm
doing
not,
that.
the meeting is done, you had you had no calls from the public, and I would just not complicate it any more than you have to by throwing up a red flag that the meeting had any kind of, I mean, had anybody in the public said anything in the last week that they felt like they
Right.
were aggrieved by not
Right.
being able to comment, that'd be one thing. But, you know, if we make a note in the minutes every time staff screws up, then, we're tired of seeing that.
absolutely right.
And it was a cascade of failures,
Right.
that there was some fault to be had and some that was not anybody's fault. So
Right.
we all took it very seriously. If needs to be a note, then it's council.
Well, I think, my position is if someone had called the manager or called the clerk, called either the council member and said, hey, I'm disappointed because I couldn't call in. But since there was no reaction from the public, you know, just let it be. And I agree with David, if you got, from time to time, there will be problems, you know. And I don't think we expect our city clerk to dot every I to cross every T, you know. But it's up to the council member if you want to vote on it. I just let it lie, you know. We didn't get no feedback from it, you know, I think.
Well, if we have it in, and my question is, if we have it in the minutes, does that negate any, because if we say that there was, the public meeting part, or the hearing part was compromised, does that actually, by going into the minutes, does that negate the vote? That was my, I mean, okay. We're just making this more
I'm
complicated than
gonna
we
play
need to.
lawyer with the lawyer over my left shoulder. You know, you're only as good as who challenges you and how you're challenged. So I'm just saying, I don't know that, adding a note that the meeting wasn't perfect and how you
Yeah.
position that, how you couch that, and how
Sure.
you say, you know, it's almost an indictment of yourself, and you calling into question how the meeting was done, and I don't think there was any intent.
No.
And then certainly could revisit it if someone had come up and said, I just don't like what you did, and couldn't
Right.
comment on it. It'd be
But
a
no one-
different thing altogether.
No comments after that meeting, so
Okay.
I just move on. Approval of order, are there anything that would need to add to our agenda tonight?
Excuse me.
We didn't
We
finish
ha-
it.
We haven't
We
finished
didn't vote
voting
on
on the
that.
minutes.
I'm sorry, okay. If we get a vote on our minutes,
So moved.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, is none, the vote unanimously. Thank you. Are there anything we need to add to our agenda tonight? Identify items for public comments as they arrive and before votes. On our consent agenda, we have a memorandum of understanding, 2020-2021 Georgia exception of Main Street, and our contract with lease renewal, Tree of Life Sculpture in Town Park. I believe it was sort of a go-ahead at our work session. We just need a motion and a second to approve this memorandum and contract for lease renewal.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, is none, the vote unanimously. There are no zoning hearings for tonight. Legal matters, none. Contract with Municipal Gas Authority of Georgia. David?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is Portfolio 5. This is an ordinance that is between the city and the Municipal Gas Authority of Georgia. Our legal counsel has thoroughly vetted this document, and it comes from the legal counsel with the Gas Authority. Very briefly, what this does is continues what the Gas Authority's been doing for years. This document is about the issuance of bonds in the names or on behalf of all the member cities of the Gas Authority. If you read through this document, and also there were, I think you had the benefit of frequently asked questions. Maybe, hopefully that was included in your document. But this has to do with the issuance or selling of bonds to purchase long-term gas. You're talking about years, decades out into the future. And as some of these obligations, some of these bonds sunset, then they go into the next, what they call portfolio. And the city benefits through its membership in the Gas Authority by having good steady prices on natural gas that it can offer or sell to its customers. And then also there are returns that are in the form of rebates every year that are added back to the city's budget. And we've enjoyed that for many, many years as well. I'll do my best to answer any questions you have, specific questions. Again, this requires council action. You see on attachment 3 on page 20, all the member cities and their obligation or their percentages. Some are rather large, and Madison is rather, we're on the smallish end. It's based on our how much gas we sell.
It's interesting to look at all the other members and what their purchases
Now, also look at Georgia cities, and not every municipal in the state is a member of the Gas Authority, by no means, but the Gas Authority has many of the municipals in the state, and also is open to municipals outside of the state of Georgia.
Yeah, I was
and
surprised
Alabama,
when I saw that there.
Pennsylvania, and Florida, Tennessee. and,
David, I have said before, I believe, that we're fortunate here in Madison to have a member of the state gas board sitting as our city manager. So maybe you can take just a second and kind of help me out and tell me briefly how the obligation shares are determined, the percentage, and the difference between the obligation share and the indemnity share.
Yeah, I'll do my best. I may not be adequate on that. Let me get back to
It'll
it.
be more than what I know, so.
There is a difference, and I'll be honest with you. Obligation shares basis of ratio calculated on the basis of each member's annual purchases. The difference, let's see, and I'll be honest with you. I'd have to go back and look at the definitions to know that. You see, they track rather closely to
Yeah.
one another, but they have to do with certainly the obligation share is based on the amount of gas that the city purchases.
So not size
annually.
of city other than size of
But I'm not
purchase.
sure what the difference between the two. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'd have to go back and look at the definition of that to see. There's not an appreciable difference between the two, but I'm not qualified to tell you what
And
they
the cover letter from, looks like it's from Mr. Corbin. Is he the board guy from Thompson?
No, he is, Arthur Corbin is the executive director.
Okay, so he's
The-
hired by the gas board.
Yes, the chairman of the board that you're referring to is Kenneth Usry, and he's
That's
the
right,
mayor
okay.
of the city of Thompson.
Okay.
But I'm fortunate enough, about a year ago, was elected by the members to serve on the Gas Authority Board, and it's been an education, it's been a process. And I don't think that I'll be able to learn everything, certainly not, but I've learned a lot by attending, and it's a first-class organization, and they do a heck of a job for the city.
And plus, this gas is a great revenue for our city as well, too. so
It
we're
is a
fortunate to
good,
have that.
good business. It is very affordable, very reasonable source of energy for a lot of the customers, residential, commercial, and industrial customers in the city. We have very competitive rates. As a matter of fact, I've shown a graph to where the city's rates, we're among the municipals that have the less expensive gas, and that has to do with your cost, your overall cost, and how we set our rates. And there's not a tremendous amount of difference between the municipals, but we're on the less expensive side. And
Do our city still offer incentives for those who wants to connect up with our gas system?
yes, we have many incentives. As you may know, we have replacement water heaters for gas customers that are free of charge. We have rebates or discounts on tankless natural gas, which we had a lot of customers take advantage of that. We do our very best when we have a new customer to not charge them anything for the tap and the line that runs all the way up to the house with the meter and everything. For each appliance that's installed in the house, you get credited with so much of a rebate based on that. A lot of builders or new homeowners will net a check from the city when they tie on. And as all of you know, hopefully you know, natural gas is a positive in a house, in a residence. And of course, most commercial and industrial make some use of natural gas, but most new houses in the city, we're able to get in.
Is there ever thought about figuring out how to get people to get carbon monoxide detectors in their house? Because I have gas, and I don't know if my alarm has that.
Most of
Do we
those-
have some kind of?
Most of the new ones do, that would be more of a fire department
Yeah.
function to make sure, and
Hmm.
the gas department could do that as well.
I think that would just be a nice kind of safety, because so many people, you can
mean-
die in your sleep with, and not know it. No? Without with carbon
Doing my best
monoxide.
to
Oh, I'm
have
sorry.
good commercials on
Yeah, but
natural gas.
so to mitigate that, you can give, I mean, they're not expensive, right?
We've not had one of those in quite a while, so,
Right.
no, we certainly could do both the smoke detectors and.
Yeah. I
we-
can't remember what we
we,
have. Do y'all have gas? Does everybody have gas here?
Yeah.
You're total electric?
We have
I
the-
love it. I love cooking on it. I've never had it, so this is all new, and it's awesome.
We'll get to
Really
talk
like
more
to cook,
gas
you wanna
later
do
on in the
It's
meeting, so.
awesome. Yeah.
I'll answer any questions about this. Again, this is a rather complicated, the documents behind the scene, but this is the fifth of these portfolios, and ask for your consideration.
Attorney Carter, you want to say something?
I'll be glad to explain what an obligation share and an indemnity share is right quick. if anybody
Thank you,
wants.
sir. Go ahead.
We have all of this share the percentages. In the event we have to tally up the revenue or shortfall, our obligation share is that percentage of whatever it is. us as an indemnity for getting in. So basically, the indemnity share is basically your percentage of ownership that you would be entitled to if a new member comes in. The obligation share, if you notice, it's all a little bit higher than the indemnity share, is your part of when they have to pass the hat, if they ever have to.
Have we ever, I know have we ever had to do that before?
No.
There was something that we've had to do before, similar to that, where was it with the pension fund, when the market crashed,
Well,
in 2008?
Your pension fund obligation is, when the market may take a steep decrease
Yeah.
in 1 year, your pension obligation may go down. That happened in 08, 09.
Yeah,
And that pension obligation went up, but
went
it
up,
came,
yeah, came back.
came back down. And
Yeah.
the market recently has gone down and back up so quickly, I don't even know if it'll show
Effect,
any
okay.
effect. But our pension obligation right now, that's not, it's
Is that
quite-
similar to
quite-
this?
Quite dissimilar.
Yeah, okay.
One is a long-term obligation that's based on your commitment to.
And one is a yearly?
And the other is a bond obligation, is to the bond holders.
Gotcha.
Is where you're obligated there. The
Okay.
others, your obligation is to investors on the bond side.
If we could get a motion to approve this contract with the Municipal Gas Authority of Georgia.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, is none, the vote unanimous. And again, Mr. Manager, thank you for serving on this board. And,
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do.
I appreciate the opportunity, and again, I'm still in the learning process, which will, I think, always be. There's always a lot to learn with the gas business.
Contract, Garrett Paving Company, attachment 4. I think you've had an opportunity to see. Yes, ma'am.
I have a quick
Sure.
point of clarification. It is an ordinance as well as an amendment to the contract. Do we need to vote on
I think if
this
we just
separately?
specify, you can clarify that it is an ordinance and an amendment to the contract. I think if that can be noted
It
in
has
the
to be
minutes.
an ordinance to get around the obligation of future members.
So you need a motion to that effect.
Yeah, just point of clarification. Do we need to, Mr. Jimmy, do we need to make that motion again?
Yes.
To include
Clarify this ordinance,
an amendment?
an amendment. You want to rephrase your motion, Mr. Bland?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the Municipal Gas Authority of Georgia contract and amendment
Ordinance.
Ordinance
and
amendment.
and ordinance.
And technically, it's a supplemental contract.
And supplemental contract.
I second that again.
Okay. Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, is none, the vote unanimous. Thank you. David, contract for Garrett Paving Company.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a construction agreement. It's very familiar. Again, you've seen lots of these for projects of this size. And it is for street resurfacing, edge milling, removal and replacement of existing speed tables. And the streets under consideration in this contract or construction agreement are Bernie Street, College Drive, North Second Street, High Street, and Hanover Drive. It was all bid out. I think we had 4 contractors bidding on this, and they were all good and close. I mean, I had to put out some clarifications on some things and had to get more information back. Sometimes contractors bid things a different way, so I had to make sure we were getting apples and apples comparisons. But at the end of the day, Garrett Paving Company was the low at $254,865, I'm sorry. And the reason there's edge milling is a lot of these streets have curb and gutter sections, and you notice a lot of times if we just keep adding pavement to the edge of the curb and gutter, that makes a big dip and it's rough. So when I went ahead and tried to include that in this, and what they'll do is mill out about 1.5 inches next to the curb, and they'll feather it to nothing. So the road will be crowned a little bit more, but that won't hurt anything in the midterm. They'll also mill out the existing speed tables and put them in brand new.
But Bernie
There's-
doesn't have a speed table.
That's just
Were you gonna
wherever,
get
wherever,
one?
College Drive, that's not included in this. But
Okay.
College Drive has several of them. One of
Yeah,
them we
yeah.
may not put back in because it's not in a good location anymore
right.
based on the new schools. So we'll put those back in, when they go back and have a little bit to add on the College Drive. And I may as well go ahead and mention that in just a minute. But North Second Street, where we have old antique, granite curbs, we're gonna mill down there. So it'll just make a cleaner job and not further raise the height of the street and aggravate any stormwater issues that are getting in the yards and whatnot. The College Drive, if Garrett were to start today, we may forestall College Drive a bit, because Board of Education, you may have seen an article in the paper where the Board of Education is working with the county to put a turning lane out at the elementary school. That section of road is in the county, so the county's helping with that. Well, the school board's doing the same thing in front of the new middle school. They're adding a turn lane on both sides, so there'll be 2 travel lanes and turn lanes to keep the traffic that's going off of College onto College, off of College Drive onto College Avenue. In the mornings, I don't go over there, and if you have kids, you have to go over there, but it gets to be a little bit congested with cars going in lots of directions. So these turn lanes will allow cars to queue up and stay out of the travel lanes. So there's a widening project in the school, and they're talking to the existing contractor or the chosen contractor that is doing it out on Buckhead Road to also do the work on College Drive. What I have committed to do as part of this project and in conjunction with this project is when they do the concrete work and they do the subgrade, then we will put in the what's called the binder coat, which is the 2 inches of binder. It's called B-binder. It's a coarse asphalt that'll be in that turning lane, and then we'll put topping over the rest of it and then stripe it. That'll be the city's participation in that project. We'll also have some utilities to move, and I'm just trying to fold that into this work and get some efficiencies out of it. So if there's no objection, I don't think it'll add a substantial amount of money to the contract, but it'll be part of the College Drive work. The contractor's aware of it. Of course, it's more work for him, so he doesn't have a problem with it either. So any questions about any of this? I'll just tell you a little bit about the funding. 65,000 LMIG, Local Maintenance Improvement Grant from the state, and the other is either SPLOST and or T-SPLOST. As I mentioned before, we're really going to turn up the amount of resurfacing that we're doing, because we are collecting some SPLOST money or T-SPLOST money, and we're putting it into trying to resurface about twice as many streets as
But we
we
get
have in
county
the
money
past.
too, is that right? Didn't we get county money for paving? No?
No,
No, okay. For some reason, I thought that was part of the agreement, but anyway.
no. I mean, we get our share of T-SPLOST based on
T-SPLOST.
the.
Was that, we got it up shared, that's right.
That based on the agreement, then we have some of our SPLOST money, the current SPLOST money
Yeah,
is
that's right.
obligated to streets and roads and whatnot.
Thank you, sir.
Any questions?
Thank you. If we get a motion to approve this contract with Garrett Paving Company.
I so move, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposers, none, vote unanimously. Thank you. Unfinished business. Potential public hearing reschedule text amendment, Jeff Royer, section 800.33 F. Mr. Joyce, is this you?
This is me.
Councilmember Joyce?
I like the way you say that. Yeah, this is me. Jeff Royal is my constituent. He contacted me some time ago and was asking, number one, how we kind of came up with the date of August for his rehearing. As you recall, we just sort of referenced it at the last meeting, the last regular meeting. We did the one zoning map amendment. His for the Kirby House, we, I think wisely put it off because there was a lot of public interest in that text amendment, I believe it was. At any rate, he wants to know kind of why we did it as late as August. He would like to be able to have that hearing, that public hearing, in the July meeting, 1 month from this meeting. So should it pass, he would be able to take appropriate action sooner than later.
I think
I
that,
told him, and my strong feeling is at the moment that my main concern about picking the date is to ensure we have an effective and a fulsome public hearing. I was very pleased when I came in tonight and saw somehow Ms. Lambert snuck in here, but anyway, I was pleased to see the chairs spread out to give you an idea of what it would be. I did get the quote from the executive order. It's not 10 people per meeting. It's 10 people or more if you have space to separate 6 feet. So in other words, if we decided we could move this up a month, I think we could probably have a meeting here if everyone feels COVID safe, but that may not be the case.
I think our plans are to invite the public back at our next council meeting in July.
Yeah.
I believe so, since we are able to space them out, and we can only get, I think it's 21 people sitting.
oh, look at the
Yeah, there's
chair.
usually about 10 of us. I think there's 10 more chairs out there, and I can't imagine this being such a big issue, we'd need more than 10.
Right,
And I
right.
will say that the Go-to-Meetings program is really good, I think, for public comments. We can see them on the screen.
Mhm.
It's not just a phone-in, just where we hear a voice. We can actually see them if you had your computers.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I think that, Eric, you're right. The reason I think we pushed it to August, because we didn't know where we were
Yeah.
gonna be.
Right.
Exactly right.
So if we had to establish a meeting, we couldn't table it, we had to postpone it until August, and we did that because of the this. I'm in agreement with moving it up to July, and because it looks like we can actively get people in here and get their input.
Mhm.
So I'm in favor of anything like that.
Is everyone on the council comfortable in a month from now of letting in?
What date?
10 more public.
Do we have a date for that meeting?
It's the usual.
July 13th.
13th.
Second
Okay, I
Monday of
should
July.
be, there's a good chance I might be out of town, but I should be here. So
Okay.
I do think that we need to familiarize ourselves with the bed and breakfast ordinance. If this thing passes, that will totally change that ordinance. Is that right, David? That's not something when you just pick up and read either. So I would familiarize yourself, because there's a lot of
would-
restrictions in that bed and breakfast ordinance. Is that what this text amendment?
No, the part of the text amendment that he wants to change is to allow 6 rooms
Instead of
Instead of-
in a
4.
bed and breakfast as
So-
opposed to the
No,
current 4.
I hear you, but the ordinance is related to the bed and breakfast ordinance, right?
No, it's the one change. It's going from 4 to 6
From 4 to
bedrooms.
6
6
bedrooms.
No, I understand.
But it is that is part of the ordinance, but that's the only change that's being
No, I know, but you
proposed.
have to look at that ordinance, because with the land use, you have to have 3/4 of an acre. There's a lot of different things to think about besides how many rooms. So I'm asking you guys to familiarize yourself with that ordinance, because more rooms also play into other aspects of that ordinance.
Well, why don't we do that?
Because you have to, in order to have a bed and breakfast in Madison, you have to have 3/4 of an acre. You can't have any less than that, right? So
Yeah,
when you
there's a-
start talking about cars, those are all things that if you only are gonna understand to think through is if you have a clear understanding of that ordinance. And it's more than just rooms.
So,
Right?
why don't we familiarize ourselves with this prior to our next council meeting?
I would hope that we read what we have in our agendas anyway.
Right.
So before July comes up,
Yeah.
The other
you
consideration
for
is,
that, but-
I'm sorry. The other consideration is that, if I'm not mistaken, B&Bs are conditional uses in most zones.
So you can, so I've been.
So all those considerations are going to be,
It's not just we're not just we're gonna change the whole
you're changing from 4 rooms to
to
6
six,
rooms.
Yeah, but
right? That would actually change the,
But Chris, you're
ordinance.
arguing the case, which is what we should do either next month or.
that's, no, no,
Exactly.
no,
I
no.
Not
agree.
tonight.
I'm not
You're exactly
arguing the
right.
case, I'm saying that the bed and breakfast ordinance is an ordinance beyond just a few sentences. It is actually a 4 or 5 page document.
And that's and that's why I said the council member will have a chance to review those.
Yeah.
That orders
So
prior to
I don't, I
to our
just am
next
asking
council
you, because it
meeting.
wasn't in our package last time.
Yeah.
The ordinance wasn't, was it?
I don't
It was
believe
just
the
a-
whole ordinance.
it's
was.
a
Yeah,
text
so I'm
of-
saying,
of-
the different, I think y'all are misunderstanding me.
Yeah, you want us to do our homework
And
first.
I'm asking you
Well,
because,
That goes
because,
without saying.
well,
You always do it.
well,
You do.
well, but this is different when you look at an ordinance, like, in our ordinance book, a paragraph sometimes is the ordinance. This is a different type of ordinance. It's a little bit thicker.
So what you're saying is you should not look at 4 to 6 rooms in a vacuum.
Yes,
What
right.
you should do is say, how does that,
How
is it, what's the cause and effect? What are
That's
the
right.
unintended consequences? Are you now allowing 6 cars, or can you accommodate that? So I think,
I mean, I'm just, otherwise, this is gonna be a learning curve that night if you don't have a,
Well, are you implying, Chrissy, that you would like more time?
no, I mean, I'm familiar with the ordinance, because I've dealt with that ordinance in my daily,
'Cause I-
day-to-day
You know, I'm
business.
simply, I have no real position on this,
Yeah,
except that if we can have a good, effective public meeting in
no,
July,
absolutely, absolutely.
that works for me.
Absolutely.
If everyone feels more comfortable
Why
health-wise.
don't we just get a motion to put this on our next agenda for our next council meeting?
I think that's
Yeah,
fair. I'm
I
just-
would, I
Just saying,
would-
there's a little bit more of, like David said, there's some unintended consequences that are not well thought out. We just need to look at it from 50,000 feet instead of,
But bear in mind, we're moving it
yeah,
a
No.
month earlier on the calendar.
yeah.
Because right now it's set for August.
No, that's fine. I'm all for that. That's fine. I have no problem doing that.
Get
So,
there. Can we get a motion to put this on our next
Yeah,
agenda?
I would move that we reschedule the hearing on the text amendment for Jeff Royal from what was scheduled for August to the second Monday in July, our regular next meeting, a month from now.
so moved.
Motion and second that we reschedule the text amendment for Jeff Royer, section 800.33 to our next council meeting from August to July. That a more discussion?
Just one question, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
We would have go-to-meetings probably still, and would this be open to the public then as
It will be,
first come,
yeah,
first
right, it
served?
will be. First 21 seats, yes. And we will make sure the
Right.
public knows that, yeah.
And I would just ask that anything related to bed and breakfast, the language that's in our city codes or ordinances be in our package so that we can review that. Is that okay?
And you may be able to
Ashley?
get
Yeah.
that order earlier before our
Yeah.
package go out.
Yeah.
We could probably talk with Ken maybe or Bryce, you know, if we need to.
Is it not as long as I thought it was?
Well, I think it's my understanding this is just change to the zoning ordinance. It would be a change to my ordinance yet. And then Jeff is actually gonna have to come back for an additional conditional use hearing.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a change to the piece.
I think he realized that, because I think at the planning and zoning meeting that approved his application, they did mention that to him, that in their opinion anyway, it would require a conditional use. I know we're all pretty good, Ashley and Ken, about public notice and timing, but based on what we've already seen in terms of letters from the public, there is a lot of interest in this, so the sooner we can get information out and solidified, I think the better for all of us and the public.
So he's gonna have to go before planning commission twice on this?
No, he's got approval from planning and zoning,
Okay, and
that doesn't change by what we're
but that's
doing.
just a conditional use, right, for under
That's not a
the,
conditional use.
it was a
that's
text
just-
amendment,
Text.
text amendment, okay.
I just,
But then he'd have to go get a conditional use right? Is that what you're saying, Ashley?
I I think that was the case, and that's what they thought at the planning and zoning hearing, although they
Okay.
have nothing to do with that.
Okay.
But that's a planning department.
And why is that, David? Because every bread and breakfast has to get a conditional use?
He currently operates as a B and B with 4
Yeah.
bedrooms.
Okay.
His text amendments to affect every
Every
B and
B&B.
B everywhere
Yes.
to go to 6.
That's right.
So I'm not sure
So he's
from
doing the
there, I'd
whole
have to
ordinance.
rely on the planning department and legal to say what steps are necessary after that.
Yeah.
Whether he just gets to benefit from that, or whether going from 4 to 6 requires another step.
Yeah, I just, the land mass is kind of, so that's just in
Mr.
that
Mayor?
thing, so.
I think Mr. Kosher, Ken, and then I give
Yeah,
it to you. Ed.
Ken,
So, I'm not the zoning administrator, but my understanding would be, since the conditional use that allows him to operate the way he is right now was based on 4 bedrooms.
that's right,
They would have to
okay.
do a second conditional use because the conditions have changed.
But if any other new B and B came into town, they would not have to because the text amendment was in place, right?
They would just
And so
have to go
he's-
through the
yeah.
conditional use like every B
And
and
I'm-
B does.
They
And I-
would, just under the basic.
And I think, I'm not sure about this, but it seems like my pitiful memory was that it would be a tiered, it could be is that right, Ken, where 4 rooms would require a certain piece of property? Am I complicating it?
So, from
So,
what I
To
understand.
answer,
yes.
to answer David, and I have not read through it recently, but I think
I
Eric
believe
has.
it's footage based on number of rooms.
Number of rooms.
Right, for each
Yeah.
room, you have to, it adds in a certain amount of land
I
that you
think
have to
that's
have. So
correct.
if you go up to 6, you need more than
So
somebody who has
4 is currently 3/4 of an acre, right? So, I mean, if that's the maximum, and so what are we, so how is, if you have,
It's-
I don't.
I think it's as David described, there's kind of a base square footage, and then by each additional room needs another .175 acres, something like that.
Okay.
But it's kind of a confusing ordinance.
Well, I had asked about 2 years ago, and I know this is off topic, for the state to look at our B and B ordinance. And they never did. I asked the CVB, the state CVB, to give us some feedback on it, but, they didn't, because it's kind of got some weird, like 2,000 feet here, and, you know, anyway, so.
Ed?
Mr. Mayor, I'm in favor of what we're talking about doing. I'd like to maybe think of a way to think outside the box. If you look at our bed and breakfasts, and you look at Jeff Royal and his breakfast, only reason he wants more rooms, he's not even 50% utilized throughout the year. They're not coming to town, they're not staying. And this might be something we need to address to help all the bed and breakfasts a little bit, is to figure out, this is out of the box.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just rounding up to 350 days, and if you can have 4 rooms over that period, that's 1,400 rooms. And what you can do is you limit the number of people that can be in there through the year, so that when the market's hot, that they can get people to town, all of them can benefit, and put people in there. And I think we need to look at a way to help all of them,
Well,
okay?
there's how many, there's not any. This is the only bed and breakfast, isn't there? He's the only one, and
Right,
so it's a
But we're not,
wonky
look,
thing.
we're not gonna solve this
No.
issue tonight. We're not having a public hearing
No, I know,
tonight.
I
So let's
know.
just do this at our next council meeting.
Well,
Yeah.
what-
We could
what-
be here all night.
Yeah, that's
No,
fine.
we're not gonna talk about, I just wish we could talk to planning about, a little bit about, I know what he's trying to do, okay? He's never gonna be 6 rooms unless there's something like the Masters in town and a bunch of folks come. So we may look at outside that box a little bit.
Well, I'd say make it permissive, but just do it across the board, because us trying to figure out
That's what I'm saying.
how many nights and how many room night, and whether it's a sliding scale according to what's going on, hot or not hot, that's Ashley, she's good, but
Well, let's
You
go
know,
ahead
that-
and get a motion to, we've already got a
Well,
motion.
I've got the motion.
Second,
I think we have a
public
motion and a
discussion.
second.
All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none, to vote unanimously. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Sure. Karen, budget?
Yes, sir. I do not have anything new to add for the budget. I just wanted to give the opportunity for any types of questions or discussion after the presentation on May 29th.
Now, when is our next meeting, budget meeting? Work session, don't we have one coming up?
The 19th.
The 19th?
The public hearing will be on the 19th.
Okay.
Oh, that's, okay.
I thought we had
Yes.
one or, okay.
Tonight's a work session.
Oh, I see, yeah.
So there are no questions for Karen? Okay.
No, you did a really good job of
Yeah.
when we had the last one, so I don't have any
So the-
questions since then.
Just for scheduling, so the 19th is going to be a called meeting for a public hearing,
Correct.
and that's Friday, the 19th?
Yes, at 8:30 in the morning. And then there's going to have to be another called meeting on June the 26th for the adoption.
This has to be done by July 1st, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, good.
And that's on that calendar schedule you gave us of all the,
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Karen.
I'll look at that again.
I'm sure you'll remind us before that time.
I will,
Yeah, thank
or
you.
Ashley will.
Are there any public comments? Any comments from the public before we have our call in? I'd like to thank our Assistant Chief, Mr. Collins, and our Chief, Mr. Ashburn, and the Sheriff Department and other local officers for working with the marches this past Saturday. It was a tremendous success. It was orderly held. And thank y'all so much for the way you held the march on Saturday.
Mr. Mayor, in honor of Chris Lambert's presence, did you want to mention anything about Lambert Park, which has been looking really good if you ever go by there?
And it does look good. It looks like Ms. Lambert would want it to look. It really looks great, you know, and I don't know if Ms. Lambert have any comments that she would like to say to us this evening, but we're really proud of our city for the work that they're doing in that park. It looks absolutely great. Yeah.
I think I saw some trees planted too.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
really
Along
nice.
with Marie Bass Martin
That park
Park, it
Top
looks
line.
absolutely,
Yeah.
it changed the whole area.
It did.
That part, they did an awesome job. And we need to really recognize our DDA group. They do an awesome job for our city. They go above and beyond, and we thank them so much. Call-ins, comments?
I have a couple of pretty quick things.
Okay.
One
Let's-
could be
go
really
ahead.
major thing, but I wanted to go over and kind of get a feel from the council. Just, I had parks and the march, and I want to echo what was said about that. Those projects are moving along. I couldn't have been prouder of our town and its citizens for the march on Saturday. It was the way that, you know, only a lot of cities dreamed they could do things, and I was awfully proud of that. The Smith Building next door is moving right along. Got an update this morning on cleaning floors and setting fixtures, and anytime you're doing stuff like that, you're getting close. So that building's really, really looking good. It's gonna be nice for the Main Street and Planning Department. You notice a little bit of, a few structures down in Hill Park went away last week or so. Got the old bathhouse, bathrooms removed. It was past time, plus an old pump house that was associated with the pool, that went away. And we're ready for when we get the plans perfected as close as we can and a more reasonable price on the restrooms, we'll get those in there. That should be moving ahead pretty quickly. Also, I'm talking to a couple of tennis court companies about looking at Hill Park, about what we can do down there. There's been different thoughts about that, whether they're necessary, whether they are past their time, whether we should dedicate that property to something else. And I'm convinced, based on the feedback that I'm getting, is that we need those tennis courts. The 8 courts that are the rec departments in the school, they're open to the public most of the time, but there are also times when they are completely slammed and there are no other opportunities for public play. So, the project could be rather, extensive because those courts up there are all to pieces. I got two good companies looking at it, and they'll they'll give us quotes, or we can secure quotes from that and see what's going on with that. Town Park, we have, we've been struggling a little bit with opening restrooms since the Welcome Center's not open consistently. The Town Park restrooms are now open every day from 8 to 5. For visitors, for residents, whoever's walking through the park, we now have an electronic lock on the door that will unlock at 8 o'clock and lock at 5.
Really?
And
7 days a week?
7 days a week.
Hallelujah.
And if, and the Welcome Center need to know that, and then we'll need to publicize that. People who walk down and try it, of course, they'll figure it out. But if there's someone jimmies the lock, or someone gets in outside of those times, there are a couple of us that'll get an email immediately that there's an entry that's outside of the time. We can change the times on it, we can modify it. There's a lot of, this is the system that we'll use on all of our park facilities.
What
when
time's the park close? Do you think 5's
Park
too?
doesn't really close.
Yeah, wouldn't you think like 7? There's so many people that strolling
Yeah.
after eating ice cream. Do
We-
you
we-
think
we
that
are-
maybe we
we're-
should look
we're-
at, if
we're
it's not
just-
staff time, then?
We set it there because we were at like 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And we probably could look at it and look at the camera to tell how many people walk around
trying,
there and
yeah.
pull on the door. I mean,
Yeah.
if they're at Ricardo's, if he's open, of course, they can go there. If they're at the other restaurants, they can go there. So if it makes sense to broaden those
Just
hours
see
on the
so many
weekend.
people stroll after going to Scoops and they
Right.
walk
And
around.
it would be,
Mm.
and there's no reason why we shouldn't do, so we'll take a good look
Okay.
at that.
So how
Thank
long
you.
is those locks been in place, David?
Just, this last week, end of the week, they were installed.
So too early to really tell whether
No.
there's issues or?
No, and we have good cameras down there, we monitor the activity, we have the building covered and the park covered fairly well, but we have the building interior and exterior covered very well. So we've, recognized some activity down there and identified problems and gotten them fixed right away.
Great.
So
Very
that works, and, just a little bit of technology, it's not cheap, but it's not, don't cost you every month or every year, you pay for it one time, but it works well. The map that you have, just one final thing, the map that you have, in front of you, and Ken's gonna put it up for the benefit of the public, it's an idea that as time has probably come, it may be past time. The city's gas system, we've done projects where we have installed gas mains to pick up poultry houses, and we've picked up residences between there, and every time we run lines within a subdivision, or initially in a subdivision, we get our share, we get our fair share of gas load. And we had a great commercial about natural gas earlier in the meeting. Appreciate all the customers of all types and sizes. It is great value for us. It's been a great business for the city for the past 50 to 60 years. But this is a move, this is an aggressive move that I am proposing. It's not for your final decision. I just want to get your input on it tonight and see if you want me to go ahead and look at this. And it's precipitated in a bit by something that I came to you a few weeks ago about a proposal in the north end of the county off of High Shoals Road to serve 7 new poultry houses off of High Shoals Road. The city of Monroe is in a position to serve those houses. They're running high pressure gas up to the quarry at Jones's Woods. It's right across the county line. They've got a project to serve the asphalt plant in that quarry. That's my understanding. They're going to be in a position to serve the north end of Morgan County. They've already asked for part of that. My proposal is to cede as little territory as we possibly can, allow them to serve the poultry houses that need service by like July. Even if we did this project, it would be tough for us to get that far. So we'll give up a little bit of territory. If they want to serve it, we'll say, thank you. This would be about 11 miles from Highway 278 up Old Mill Road to Fairplay Road, into Bostwick, and then into the north end of the county. Essentially, this puts the city of Madison Natural Gas in a position to serve the western side, the northwestern side, and then also the north end of Morgan County. Right now, of course, we don't have anything up there.
There's no gas in
No
Bostwick?
gas up, no. We're vulnerable. I'm saying this publicly, and I don't think it's a secret to anyone. We need to do this project. It's my proposal or my thought that we need to do this as a major expansion of the city system. 278, down here at the bottom of the map where it says 12 and 278, we have high-pressure gas. We have a 4-inch steel gas main that operates at over 400 pounds per square inch. So that supplies all of the gas into the city and all throughout the system. We would tap onto that probably with 4 to 6 inch plastic. We would set a regulator station that would reduce the pressure down to 100 pounds at the most, probably 80 pounds at the least. That would pressurize this line that would at least be 12 to 15 miles initially. We're talking about over $1 million in investment for this line. But the good part is we budget every year $100,000 for expansion, and we almost never spend it. Or we don't spend it all, we don't spend nearly all, because we talk about running lines to different places, but we really don't have an impetus to do it. We really don't.
So we just
But
need to come up with 900,000
no,
or?
no, we need to borrow the money. Just
So would
the
you do it in a
same-
bond or? how-
No, we could probably, we have some options. And that's
Yeah.
the reason I'm talking to the council tonight, to find out if you're interested, for us to look at the engineering. 2 or 3 things to do. Look at the engineering, see
Yeah.
how feasible it is. Get a cost estimate on a project like this. Also, to look at the financing for a project like this. And the third thing is to talk to key customers. Poultry farmers in the north end of the county have been asking for natural gas for years. I didn't bring it with me, but I have a sliding scale, one of those neat things you used to have in school where you could do equivalents between things. I have an energy equivalent to where you look at the scale and you can tell what natural gas costs, or what the cost of, say, propane, which is what these poultry houses are, at a certain level of natural gas. I'm pretty sure that what we're charging right now for poultry houses is they're paying way more than the equivalent on propane. That's the reason they would rather have natural. I need to talk to those farmers to find out if they are committed to convert to natural gas in their houses. We do that, we'll get a commitment as strong as we can get from them and tie those, and then over time, this is a long-term payback. It's not an overnight thing. It's not a 1 year or a 10-year thing. This is if you do it now, then you have a chance in the future. You don't do it, and then somebody else is gonna do it for you.
So can you maybe get information?
Yes,
on
that's
those
all I'm
and
asking to
bring it
do.
to our
That's
next
all-
work
all-
session, and we could talk about it at our next work
It
session
would be,
and give us a
it-
chance to.
it's going to be a process.
Mhm.
I'll have information on cost of finance, on an estimate on how much this would cost. I have some rough ideas now, but I know it'd probably be a little bit north of $1 million. This is, the pipe, the 6-inch pipe, plastic pipe is $6 a foot. So, you do the math, you do 12 to 15 miles and you can do that. And then the price to install it is so much,
So who
7 or 8
installs
dollars.
that? Do you hire
There are
a
gas contractors that do.
contract?
Does it use existing right-of-way?
Yes.
So there's no,
It'll leave the state right away. The kind of the barriers or the crossing, so to speak, is a railroad crossing at Old Mill Road in Dixie, right in that area. Lots of driveways, lots of side roads, Hard Labor Creek.
Is this something that you could piggyback with AT&T or something like that to lay fiber for, no,
I
is there
wouldn't-
any?
it's
No.
It would complicate things.
Thanks. I know when you bore under, well, I know that when you bore under railroads, that they can share some of that responsibility.
If the opportunity came up, we certainly could look at that.
Yeah.
But we're going through an area that if we We're on the western side of the county already. We serve Rutledge. We actually have Ken, if you would, yes, in that area, see the light red, we already serve all of Rutledge and
Yeah.
out Hightower, not Hightower Road, that's not right.
But so that is,
It's out West Dixie, out to Old Mill.
Yeah.
We already have some gas out there, so
So,
we'll be paralleling us.
would we be completely dependent upon that industry if we put that in?
No,
If
no,
then that
because
industry went
you're going to
belly
pick-
up, then?
You're going to pick up customers throughout time.
Okay.
You're gonna pick up existing houses, people that wanna convert from, new construction, new developments. There are at least 10 poultry houses out in that area. And you wouldn't, I would never propose this just for one. This is expanding your system into an area that if you don't do this, if you don't do this, then you won't be able to do it in the future.
Is there enough population in Bostwick to justify without?
Yes, there are probably 150 residences there in that area. And I'm one of them. I live in town, but I'd love to have natural gas, but I'm not running it
What
out
was
there
the
for me.
expansion to Rutledge? How much did that, at what point did we do that, and what was,
The
so is there any
the
hit
gas main came from Rutledge.
from Rutledge?
You're-
Okay.
The
It came
city's
in.
gas comes from
Jersey?
Jersey,
So
beyond
what was
Jersey,
the,
Georgia.
can you give us some kind of context I'm sure we've done this before, right? Did we
Well,
expand into Madison Lakes?
Probably not. The expansions, we expanded high pressure into Madison Lakes.
Yeah.
That was 3 or 4 miles. It wasn't as big as this. It cost less because that was a few years ago.
And
It
it's-
might have been
yeah.
250,000. But we ran, we paid our portion to run into Stanton Springs. That nets us a good amount of
Yeah.
money, net money every year for expanding in that area. We ran lines out the Athens Highway to Sandy Creek Road, and we were about halfway down Sandy Creek Road. Our impetus there was picking up poultry houses, but now we're picking up residences. We make
Yeah.
gas
Mr.
taps
Mayor?
out there all the time.
a lot out that way.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Lathrop, go ahead.
I highly encourage you to do this, David. I don't think we need to analyze it here tonight. You're gonna.
I just want to answer any questions.
And I say, go get it done,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the
Yeah.
sale of natural gas is helping us hold our taxes down
Yeah.
in town.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to go to that market. We need to analyze it
Well-
and see what we got to do.
I got a wake-up call, and it's called the City of Monroe. They're a bit unique. We're fortunate because we control border to border, and we're going to give up. I'm going to be okay with giving up the tip end of Morgan County, so one farmer, and maybe another farmer down the street a little bit, can benefit from natural gas. But I don't want to give up any more than we have to. I'm bullish and stubborn because I think we can run where we can run out and have a reasonable return over a number of years. We're going to do that, and I'm just saying it's too good of an opportunity for us to say, well, we just can't afford to do it, or it's too risky. You're looking at years and years and years down the line. If you don't take this opportunity, it won't present itself again. It's gonna pass you by. Somebody's gonna do it for you.
Right. So if you would just bring some information.
I
back to
will
us at
bring
our
back,
work
and
session.
I will start on it, and I will get the money people, engineer people, gas authority will help with
Right.
part of it. We'll start analyzing this. I'm sure, we may get calls. We can get this thing done in a reasonable amount of time. We just gotta put some people, some experts onto it, and I appreciate the encouragement.
Go
We'll-
for it.
We'll look to hear from you at our work session, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Are we ready for comments from the public now? Anyone call in? They need to call in?
I'm not sure how many we have on the,
We had one, and he.
They wigged out.
They wait.
We lost him.
David, where are we with the, I don't think we're gonna open, Wellington Park basketball court. Are we gonna open that this summer? Any thoughts
Mr.
on
Mayor,
that?
that hasn't been brought, that has come up again. I'm waiting for feedback on y'all.
We've opened the
Tennis courts. We've not opened Hill Park just because they're in such bad condition, and we haven't been pushed to do that.
But we don't control the other tennis courts
Not
either,
really,
so.
not really.
I'd say,
That's the rec
I'd say
department.
that if the other parks are, their recreation element is open, then we should open all the parks, recreation. Or, I mean, it's just up to you guys.
Well, did the county recreation department, did they close down their rec facilities, the rec?
I'm not sure. I would
Team
have,
events?
For the summer baseball and,
they're not
Contact
doing
sports.
anything.
that's right.
Okay.
So they closed it down for the summer? Okay.
That's what I read in the paper.
I thought I
you
read
know.
that in the paper too.
But I've not had for the courts that we have, ones that we don't own them, but I think we look after them, the ones at the middle school, at Morgan Circle, Eliza
Yeah.
Morris, and then the ones at Wellington Park. We actually took the goals down, instead of just covering them, we just removed them altogether. But we've had a proliferation of street side hoops showing up all over town, and I've been ignoring them. I'd say, go for it, you know.
They're everywhere.
So kids are playing basketball.
Yeah.
That's just one thing to consider. They are playing basketball. They're
Yeah.
just not doing it on city
property.
courts.
Okay.
And I agree with Chris, if the county's opening up, I think it's only
But the
equitable
tennis
we do
courts
the
are
same.
open and it's
But the
just, I
tennis
mean.
courts are a little bit,
It's a little less physical, little
yeah.
less
Are
contact.
do we have our playground equipment open?
We had it closed at one time, but I think it's even back open.
Okay. Well, I
The
mean, at
main
this
thing
point was
about
the
that was the
education, wasn't it?
cleanliness,
Yeah.
and we weren't able to sanitize those on a daily
I
basis.
just think that everybody kinda knows what,
What the risks are.
yeah, and at some point,
Well, if you don't open them
Government
up,
has to get out of
they're
the
gonna play
way.
basketball.
Yeah.
That's what they like to play.
So-
And we have the facilities.
We'll get the
I think
hoops
we
put
need to
back
open
up. If y'all
I
give
mean,
us
it's
the
up
word.
to you.
I think
mean,
it's
I
fair.
think,
well, we want to do the right thing. We don't.
Well, I think we
no,
should
no.
stipulate that, no, you know, we catch wind of some
No
out-of-town
tournament,
folks
big-
wanting to
big
do a
tournaments.
tournament or
Yeah.
something in a big crowd, then we
Yeah.
want, they're open for neighborhood kids, passive, not this active thing where we have someone on Facebook saying,
Have
we're
we- have
gonna
we
have a
had-
tournament in the, what
have
do
we
they
had
call that?
we
The-
had some tournaments
the
like
a-
before we
What do
went,
they call it,
yeah.
the asphalt or the?
I don't know, Chris
There's
probably knows more
There's a
than I
name
do.
for those courts, I can't remember.
I
what
don't
it
I don't
is.
know, Chris might know, I don't know.
The what? Blacktop
Blacktop.
Park.
Oh, the blacktop.
Blacktop. Well, I do know this probably will make a lot of kids happy.
Well,
They can
I
get out
mean,
of the
it
house.
is,
They're probably
it is
tired
what
of-
it is at this point. I
they're
mean,
tired
it's
of
just,
being bogged down. you
everybody
know.
knows what the risks are. I mean, I'd like to see a hand sanitizer dispenser
Well-
there if we could do something like that. Do we have any of that? No.
But health department keeps saying it's gonna be another phase of this
Surge, yeah.
COVID-19 in a couple of months,
Well,
so.
I'm proud of Morgan County. Somebody's doing something right, because we stay about 40, and we have not
Yeah, we had
going
39.
up because some of these other counties are going out the roof, and
Well,
we just, I don't know.
well, I know
Somehow we're
Hancock
not-
is in really bad
Bad shape.
shape, yeah.
Maybe it was that early closing.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we set the tone. I do want, after Saturday's march, and just to keeping in line with that thinking of things that we can do, I would like to ask you and David if I can go ahead and start working on the expungement days with the police. I do have 2 private attorneys that are willing to, criminal attorneys that are willing to work with people to expunge their records, and I know other areas have expungement days. And I was gonna get your permission to maybe have some kind of upcoming workshop so that people could come in and work on getting their records expunged so that they can
We
get jobs.
just, as we've said before, it needs to be coordinated with the court clerk and with the
Yeah,
judge.
yeah, no.
Because he is the person who.
Absolutely, but I need some help. I need somebody to, I don't know who to talk to about
Well,
that, I guess.
Since the chief is back there,
yeah.
he might can give us some insight of what's going on or what.
It would be the
what they're
court clerk,
doing.
which would be Christina, Chris?
Uh,
So it would be Charles,
So there needs to be I think there's a process now, but what you're saying is that you don't think many people know about it.
so there, in other communities, there are things called expungement days, and we have the process, it's just, what I find is people don't know that we do it. So if
So
we
how
could.
can we get the word out, Assistant Chief Carla? How can the word
Well,
get out?
I think if you have one day, we don't have it on our website. I know that the local bar has it on their website, and I know that the GBI has it on their website. So if does our police department have a separate website? No. No, okay.
No, they just have a link to a page.
Okay, so I have the links to how people can apply to do this. So I think maybe just doing it on our social media, these applications, and then maybe doing a workshop with the judge. I mean, I'm sure Charles would love that, or Lee Ma. I don't know who all the players are. I really don't. I just think it's low-hanging fruit and something we can offer that will actually help people. Because there's so many people that can't get good jobs because of something they did, and they just don't know that we do that here. It's just
Chris,
a,
could you, or maybe Carrie, who I know kind of did an email agreeing with this, could you send me like a link, because I know virtually nothing about this movement. So-
about expungement? Okay,
Yeah.
I can, what I'll do is I'll do some research on what other communities are doing.
Just email me a site I can look
Yeah,
up.
and it's really low-hanging fruit, and it's nothing, it's like, when you remember when Carrie had it was like an that was awesome that you had with the mortgage brokers and it was like
It was- I had,
almost just
yeah, it was just a little bit of, a little bit, it was all just knowledge.
yeah,
Most of it was just knowledge
yeah.
of things that we need to do, and which I still am doing it, I'm just not doing it at one time now.
Yeah,
Now I actually do it on Friday nights online.
yeah.
Just information is all knowledge.
So so essentially, it's just something that we can start promoting in the spirit of things that we can do better as a community to help people that have been through the criminal justice system and don't have the resources to pay an attorney to help them get their record expunged, that we can do that, and it's really simple.
So maybe since,
But I'm happy to lead that, and I'm happy to meet with the chief. I think
Judge-
Colin has been so awesome in taking a leadership role in
so
some of this.
what role does the judge play in this?
I think
He has to approve it
I think he approves
He
it.
approves it,
yeah.
you know, so.
based on
But
a
I'm just
recommendation.
asking permission if I can take this and run with it and.
But I would really like you to work with the chief and work with.
Oh, no.
Collins and work with the judge, you know.
No.
I mean,
No, I would have to,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
I think she's just asking for permission
not
to
gonna
try to
unilateral-
find a way to inform
That's
people.
fine.
and
I'm
train
just
them.
getting,
Yeah.
yes, I'm not unilaterally
Yeah.
promoting
Yeah.
something for the city
Yeah.
without your permission, so.
That's fine.
And I think that
We
would be
can help
great
those-
if
we could help those
you
young
guys could
people.
work on that, because I agree with it. Because so many of our young people get in trouble early in life when they're 17 or 18, and now they're 25, and then it's still hanging
Still on
around
the
their
records.
head.
Yeah.
And they've been, if they've
Yeah.
had a good record and they've been, doing, that needs to go away.
It does,
And I totally agree with that.
And if you haven't watched, and this is not a partisan pitch, but President Obama did a town hall that gave mayors and cities, he said the things that can happen across the country to help people are to do things locally. And if y'all have not watched his town hall that lays out some of the things that we can do, I urge you to do it, because it's, several of the mayors across the country have signed his, a
Petition.
commitment, yeah, and it's really interesting, and it's this kind of stuff. It's just it's low-hanging fruit and something that we can do to make people's lives better that don't have the privilege that some of us have, so.
Sounds good. Anything else? Any more comments? If not, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey.
Can I get a preemptive